Hello, my name is Katie Johnson. The date is April 22nd, 2021, and it is 10:33 a.m. in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. There has been 31,602,676 confirmed COVID cases in the U.S. as of today. There's also been 565,613 deaths in the U.S. In Wisconsin, there have been 592,262 confirmed cases and a total of 6,721 deaths. In the US to date, 216 million vaccines have been administered, with 87,592,646 people fully vaccinated, which is 26.4% of the total population. 40.5% of the US population has had at least one dose. In Wisconsin, 30% of the population has been vaccinated. Hello. Hello. So, what is your name, and can you share some demographic information about yourself?
All right, my name is Emma Court. I'm 20 years old, about to be 21. I'm originally from Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. I go to here at school at UW Eau Claire.
All right, awesome. So, what are the primary things that you do on a day-to-day basis?
Day to day, I go to class, go to work. That's pretty much it.
Do you want to explain what your job is?
Yeah, so I work at an assisted living home and they also have independent living and there's a memory care center. So I'm a dining assistant. We recently opened up our kitchen again, so now we can actually see the residents instead of just delivering their food. So
That's good. When you first learned about COVID, what were your thoughts?
I think my initial reaction was that it wasn't serious. It was kind of just this thing in China, and we heard some news stories about it, but I think no one in the U.S. knew it was going to be as big as it was going to be.
Yeah.
When the school, sent everyone home and everything went online, it was kind of like, oh, we get an extra spring break.
Yeah.
And then I think it wasn't till the summer when, things kind of got more serious and the death rose,
Yeah. Yeah. What are your thoughts about it now, a year in?
I think now, it was pretty traumatic for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of loss. I think now I feel like we're almost nearing the end. It seems like things are slowly getting better. Restaurants are opening. At my work, residents can see each other again, and
That's good.
So now I feel like we're just recovering from the past year and trying to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. What issues have most concerned you about COVID-19?
I think everyone's mental health. I think it's really taken a toll, especially, in the industry I work in and where I'm going to be working in senior care. I think it's important to, the precautions were necessary because we didn't know much about it, and now we're slowly learning more, and now just the mental health aspect, being alone and isolation, I think that was a big toll on people.
Do you think school has positively or negatively impacted people's mental health?
I think in a way, for me, it gave me structure. I know, last semester we were fully online, and I think if I didn't have my classes to get me out of bed in the morning, and but then also the flip side of that, it's stressful.
Yeah.
And it almost seems like we're just trying to get through it. So I think there's pros and cons. I think, the university is, opening up pretty much now.
Yeah.
And, we didn't have a spring break this semester, and that took a big mental health toll on everyone. So I think there has to be a balance. I think it's personally helped me with some structure in my life, but it's definitely stressful.
Okay. How has COVID affected your job?
My job, definitely a lot. At the start of the pandemic, I was working at a different assisted living home
Okay.
near my parents.
Mhm.
And that was my first experience working in an assisted living home. And there was so much like uncertainty
Mhm.
about what COVID was. And so, we had to wear masks, but there wasn't really, there's still like, we still don't know too much about how
Mhm.
it spreads and that kind of thing. But yeah, my job changed a ton. Like where I work now, we were pretty much just delivering meals to the residents' room every single day. And now, like within the past month, my job has completely changed. So our dining room is like restaurant style. So I'm pretty much just a waitress, and so that's changed my job completely because
Yeah.
I don't have any experience being a waitress, but I can deliver it to their rooms.
Yeah,
So-
you got thrown in at the deep end a little
Yeah.
bit. How has COVID impacted the employment of people that you know?
Employment. I know my parents. They're still working from home.
Mm-hmm.
My mom has always worked from home majority, but my dad has been working at home. I don't. Well, I know you lost your job.
Yeah.
At the Poplar Center, right?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I think I don't know. I don't have many like personal connections with people who lost, their full-time job or
Yeah.
anything like that. I know my sister is in a master's program, so she's kind of struggling to get a job.
Yeah. How has COVID affected your family? Going after your sister and your parents.
My family, yeah. I was talking to my sister yesterday, and she was saying that her boyfriend's life has not changed at all. He just goes to work and comes back home. But I think it's definitely affected people a lot more than that guy. Yeah, my sister, I think she's in the master's program at UW Milwaukee.
Okay.
And so all her classes were online. She had an accounting internship that was fully online. So I think a lot of things are moving towards online.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know my sister loves to travel. She hasn't been able to do that. I think that's a big thing. I think my brother was, he was kind of one of those frontline workers.
Okay.
Not really frontline, but he works on robots or whatever, and like packaging, say, hand sanitizer.
Oh, wow.
So that was like one of his jobs. So he was like in the middle of the pandemic, just helping companies, increase their.
Been a lot of hand sanitizer sold in the last year.
Yeah. I don't know. My brother's in the middle of planning a wedding.
Oh.
And so that's been interesting.
Did they have to push it back or change it at all?
They didn't have to push it back, but they knew that everyone's wedding is getting pushed back. So their wedding is like in 2 years because
Okay.
they were waiting so long.
Okay. It's a long time.
Yeah.
How has COVID affected your association and communication with your friends and family?
I think definitely at the start it was very isolating.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard to make new friends. Still struggling with that. So I think that was difficult. I think technology was a huge lifesaver in a way. I think I was able to reconnect with some high school friends because of Zoom calls and online games and stuff like that. Which I think without that, a lot of people would have suffered a lot more with isolation.
Absolutely. So, going off that, how have your thoughts or opinions about social media changed for better or for worse over the last year?
So,
I think it's being too still. There we go.
there we go. Okay. What was your question?
How have your thoughts or opinions about social media changed for good or for bad in the last year?
I think, hmm, I don't, I think it has some pros and cons to it.
Mhm.
I think if your life is consumed by social media, that's bad.
Mhm.
And that was kind of the only contact some of us had. Like if you lived alone, you were,
Yeah.
using social media to see what's going on in the world. And
Mhm.
um, I don't know. Sorry.
That's okay. What have you done for recreation during COVID-19 to get out of the house and do different things?
Yeah, this summer I got pretty into biking. So when I moved back to Eau Claire at the end of the summer, I got into biking because there's a ton of trails in the area, and that was a really good thing just to get out of the house and something you can do by yourself and be out in nature.
Yeah.
Definitely watching a lot of Netflix shows and
Yeah.
yeah,
There's a lot on there. So.
yeah.
How has the outbreak affected your community, either here at school in Eau Claire or back at home?
I think. Well, I think Eau Claire, I think, has taken all the precautions a little more serious than my hometown.
Okay.
Um, when I went home, like last semester, I saw people not wearing masks and just stuff like that. I think it's been hard to just like get people together. I think that's been difficult.
How are those around you responding to the COVID pandemic?
I think, all my friends and coworkers have taken it pretty serious. I think it's just been a hard time on everyone. Everyone's struggling a little bit, and this past year has been like a blur. Like I feel we've talked about how like what even happened last year, and so I think that's been hard. I think with my coworkers, I think we were lucky enough to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a bright moment. It was kind of like, okay, well, if things are getting better, like this is a step forward. Because for a long time, it was just hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen those around you change their opinions, day-to-day activities, or relationships directly due to COVID-19?
I think a little bit. I think it's definitely divided some people. Some people take it a little more serious, some people don't, and some people are, very, opinionated about it, which has divided people. What was the question?
Have you seen those around you change their opinions, day-to-day activities, or relationships due to COVID?
Yeah, I think, I have seen that. I think people are just spending a lot more time at home.
Yeah.
And just spend maybe, I think, like I have a closer group of friends now, I think, than I did a year ago, just because, you can't have those other, like, acquaintances and, just being precautious about that.
I know, like, at the beginning of last year, there was, like, a bunch of hobbies, like sourdough bread and all that stuff. Did you pick up anything like that or try any of those trends or fads or anything?
I think I did get into the sourdough thing for a little bit when I lived at home.
Okay. Yeah, there's so much.
Trying like TikTok recipes and stuff like that. There's a lot of random activities going on.
Yeah, to fill some time.
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts and feelings when I told you that I had contracted COVID-19 or contracted COVID-19 after spending like 3 days in a row hanging out with you and
I definitely was nervous. I feel like it wasn't like a surprise. I feel like everyone knew someone who had in contact, so it was like, okay, it's kind of bound to happen no matter how precautious you were in a way. But I was definitely nervous. I think, I was, I was worried about my work too. Like, I was calling my managers like 3 times to see if I can come into work or not. because it was so unclear if like all those regulations were. Yeah, so it's definitely nerve wracking. But I didn't get COVID, so
Yeah, I'm glad you did.
yeah.
I kind of already asked this, but in what ways do you think COVID is affecting people's mental and physical health?
I feel like physical health. I think I feel like people are being a little more active outside. You know, you can't do so much like things indoors anymore, but
Yeah.
you know, and as the weather gets nicer, definitely people are hanging out outside more.
Yeah.
I think like in the middle of winter when we couldn't do, we couldn't go inside, couldn't really be outside without being freezing.
Mhm.
I think that definitely impacted people's physical health.
Yeah.
Just like kind of sitting around all day doing
Mhm.
but also on the other side, like I know people were like, I'm gonna start working out every single day till the pandemic is over. I don't know where those people are now.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Has COVID impacted your opinions on school in any way, like positively or
school?
negatively?
I think maybe a little bit negatively because you definitely don't get as much you can through a computer screen and through all these Zoom classes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's definitely been, you know, I don't think the best way to learn. You know, I think for some people it would have been smart to take some time off school and just focus on yourself, you know, not have to deal with that. I know for like my program, next year I'll be doing an internship at a skilled nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I was kind of already on that path, so I kind of had to stick with school a little bit. But I think, yeah, definitely, I don't think Zoom classes are for everyone. I think a lot of people struggled with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Being in healthcare administration, do you think that doing classes online has negatively impacted how you're learning what you need to learn for your job?
I would say, yeah, I think you definitely don't get as much information. But also, you know, this past year has definitely shaped what I'm learning in my classes. Like,
Yeah.
there's a giant focus on infection control now
Mm-hmm.
more than ever. And, you know, I think about the current students out on internship right now. You know, their last semester was fully online, and then they kind of just got thrown into
Yeah.
a skilled nursing home going through, you know, one of the worst things. But it's also a learning experience.
Mhm.
I think, you know, our professors have told us, like, you know, since you've had this experience, like, you'll be so set up in the future for that. But I think, like, just the lectures and stuff, you know, you don't get as much out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. What have been your personal experiences with your online classes? Like with professors, with technology issues, anything like that?
Yeah, I think definitely some professors are better than others.
Yes.
I'm teaching online. Yeah, I think the best professors are the ones that like use some interactive tool
Yeah.
instead of the ones that just turn on their webcam and start lecturing. It's
Yeah.
definitely hard to pay attention to. So yeah, it's definitely it's hard.
Do you think you're doing better, or are you doing better now that everything is hybrid, or when it was like fully online, or when it was fully in person? Do you have like a preference?
I don't know. Right now, my classes are kind of split. Like I have 2 fully online classes and then 3 in person. Well, one is hybrid, and so that like this semester has been kind of hard to manage because it's so like my schedule is kind of all over the place
Yeah.
with that, and you know I'm going to in-person classes while trying to manage my online classes. And so I think that's difficult. I think like last semester when everything was online, I I kind of had a schedule, and I think that helped me a lot. So I
Yeah.
was able to be pretty successful. But I know like other people struggled so much where and yeah, so I think there's got to be a balance. Like right now, I think is the hardest because it's like everything's in the gray area and like things are slowly changing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping like by next time, like this year, maybe like it'll be all it would benefit everyone.
Yeah. Do you know anyone who has had questions or concerns about getting a vaccine or anything surrounding the vaccine?
Yeah, definitely. I think like some of my coworkers, they decided not to get the vaccine,
Mm-hmm.
which it's hard for me to understand because if you're working in long-term care at all, that's a vulnerable population.
Yeah.
You should want to protect yourself, protect them.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you still have to work with them though every single day. So you kind of just have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I know, like one of the people at my work, she was scared about, she's trying to have a baby. And so
Yeah.
she's scared about the effects on that,
Mm-hmm.
which, I don't know how real are, but,
Yeah.
I think as long as they're wearing a mask still and like following all those necessarily things, then, it's hard to fight them on it.
Yeah.
And I know, like, it also depends on culture.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a friend in the HCAD program at her site. She has a high, like, Ethiopian population, I believe.
Okay.
And that history of vaccines, is not good. And so you
Yeah.
kind of have to understand where they're coming from and, like, why they are scared to get the vaccine.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely, I encourage them to get the vaccine, obviously, in the middle of trying to convince my brother.
Yeah, me too.
Right. Yeah, so, yeah.
And then which vaccine did you receive?
I got the Moderna.
Moderna, okay.
Mhm.
What sort of side effects did you have, or what was your experience getting both shots?
The first one, I didn't really have any side effects from, except like my arm hurt, like a flu shot or whatever.
Okay.
The second one, I was just exhausted the next day.
Mm-hmm.
I could not get out of bed. But then the day after, I suddenly had so much energy, so it was fine.
That's good.
Yeah. And I talking to like the residents at my work too when they got it, they had similar like experiences, and some
Okay.
people didn't even experience any.
Wow,
Yeah.
I'm jealous of them.
Right.
Has your outlook on COVID changed since you've been vaccinated and have that little protection?
I think a little bit. At work, I don't have to wear a mask anymore,
Mm-hmm.
which is weird, and because that's the CDC guidelines say is
Mhm.
okay. So that's interesting, but I think in a way, yeah, maybe have let my guard down because I've gotten vaccine a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but I still wear a mask in public. I still
Yeah.
follow all those rules, but I definitely feel like I don't know, we're on the right path to COVID not being a thing anymore, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. And then I know there's been some talk about certain vaccines needing booster shots in the future. What do you think about that? And if you'll get the booster shots, if they're a thing ever?
Yeah, I don't know, I haven't heard much about that. I feel
Okay.
like if it's recommended, I probably will,
Okay.
because I'll be working in, a skilled nursing home, obviously,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, I definitely would consider it.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking towards the future, has your experience transformed how you think about your friends, your family, and your community?
Yeah, I think so. I
There we go again.
we go. Wait, how it's affect my...
How has affected or looking to the future, how has your experience transformed how you think about your friends, your family, and your community?
Yeah, I feel like technology has really been a lifesaver, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So now, maybe a close friend doesn't have to live in the same town as you,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What was the? I can try to answer it better.
Looking to the future, has your experience transformed how you think about your friends, family, community? Like, are you gonna like not see certain people as much anymore due to certain things? It wasn't worded super great. My apologies.
That's okay. Yeah, I think it's definitely like kind of highlighted people's worst, you know, if they're, you know, going out every night and, you know, not following the, you know, the guidelines. I think that's definitely shown people's colors and, yeah, I think I've lost a couple friends because of that. You know, I just don't, you know, if you're gonna go out and party and do whatever in the middle of a pandemic, then kind of I lose some respect for you in a way. So.
Yeah, I understand that. And then knowing what you know now after going through the past year, what do you think individuals, communities, or governments need to keep in mind for future other events like this?
Yeah, I feel like this like caught everyone off guard, and now I think like in the skilled nursing homes, I think the infection control has improved so much, where I don't know, like it won't hit as hard because of all the things they've developed and everything going on there. So it's definitely impacted that.
Well, that's all the questions I have. So thank you so much for talking to me today.
Yeah,
It means a lot. You're great.
Great.